What's going on, Paisanos? V here. Come at you guys, well, with another market watch today. You know, you would think with the ban list coming up, I mean, literally any day, today, tomorrow, right now, later on after this video, who knows, that the market wouldn't be moving as much. But if you guessed that, you'd be wrong. You see, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players still get involved in the market. They take basically bets. I mean, people call Yu-Gi-Oh, the Yu-Gi-Oh market gambling. People call Yu-Gi-Oh market investing. I say, what's the difference? It's both the same thing. Whenever you gamble, it's the same as whenever you invest. You're just hoping to get more out than what you put in. I don't blame anybody for doing that. I don't think nobody does. And when it comes down to the ban list, well, everyone invests and gets ready and hopes they come out on top when it comes down to the release of the ban list. Every ban list. It's only gotten bigger as this game has grown. Guys, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, like button, and comment down below. Comment question of the day. What are you holding on to right now in preparation for the ban list? You already know, for me, it's Max C, but I would love to know what you guys are holding on to and why. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Is it specifically meant for this exact ban list? Or is it meant for another ban list? Is it a long hold, a short hold? Are you going to sell it or are you going to use it? Comment down below and let me know why. I always like to talk about like deck archetypes or archetypes or archetypes, or whatever you want to call it. And today's one's going to be War Rocks. War Rocks had a lot of hype and fell flat. And you might go, well, V, why are we talking about War Rocks? Like, it makes no sense to talk about War Rocks. No, it actually makes perfect sense to talk about War Rocks. Konami always adds more support for some new archetypes, and I wouldn't be surprised that we got War Rocks and Blazing Vortex, and it did fall flat, and it's cheap because it fell flat. But I also wouldn't be surprised that maybe War Rocks are becoming good. I always like to take this mentality and apply it to spirals. When spirals first came out, they were so cheap. You can get as many as you want. Have fun with it. You're not probably gonna win, and most people didn't win with spirals. And then they got Spiral Double Helix, and the deck became literally tier 0. From barely a rogue deck, and I use the words barely nicely, to tier 0. It can happen with War Rocks. It can happen with a lot of other archetypes in the game right now. Especially a deck like that's relatively new at a Blazing Vortex, and we know has a better chance of getting support than a deck like, let's say, Black Wings. Even though I like Black Wings, it just doesn't get the kind of support and love that maybe War Rocks might be getting soon. Who knows? Also, guys, want to give a quick heads up. I'm going to be on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming. I'm going back to a set streaming schedule. I don't exactly have the times locked in, but I'm looking to play some Yu-Gi-Oh! There's Extravaganza this weekend. I'm going to be testing online. We talked yesterday in a live stream talking about, well, mostly the ban list and what we think can come off the bans or what we think should never come off the bans we talked about. And today I'm going to do a mixture of talking about the bans more than likely, if it hasn't came out yet, as well as talking about the meta and the game that and the deck that I'm currently playing. And I would love it if you guys check me out on Twitch. Hit me, links will be down below. Go ahead and hit me a follow. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you guys can hang out with your boy V, even more so. Anyway, up next, guys, we have Eldritch Golden Lord. So once again, this video, in case anyone doesn't know yet, is cards that I think are good buys before the ban list and even after the ban list. This is a very unique type of video because I can't always do this video. I can only do it during a certain time and when I feel relatively confident. Because I'm not gonna tell you cards I think are going to be bad. I'm like, oh, it might be good. No. These are cards I do think will not only survive the ban list, but might even thrive afterwards. And Eldritch the Golden Lord, Eldritch in general, is going to be one of those decks. Unless Konami just straight up goes ban Golden Lord, Eldritch are going to be around post-ban list. They're excellent mid-range decks, the kind of perfect mid-range decks that Konami wants you to play. They like Yu-Gi-Oh players playing it out. Not, alright, first turn, try to throw everything on board and YOLO and see what happens. No. Those guys are more than likely going to be calming down. They might eventually come back, but what we're going to see is more mid-range decks. And Eldritch is the perfect example of a good mid-range deck. This will survive the ban list. You can get a $6 Golden Lord from a maximum gold, or you can get the Secret Golden Lord. It doesn't really matter what you get, just as long as you have Eldritch. I think it's a great buy. If you hold it right now, don't sell it. Do not sell it. It's really good, and it's going to survive. Definitely. Next, we have Shadows. Of course Shadows are going to survive. Absolutely. Once again, Konami has to, like, basically ban Winda. And could it still be possible hits to Shadows? I guess so. I don't think they get Shadows Schism, which is easily one of the best cards for Shadows right now. I mean, the card's roughly around $27, and when it initially came out, it was $6. But Shadows in general are just really good still. They can still survive, and what's more important about Shadows, I think I really like, just like Eldritch, there are insanely good mid-range decks. Everyone loves the Trinity format, and Shadows were prevalent during that format, and they will survive. I don't want Burning Abyss on here, but I'm not going to lie to you, Burning Abyss also might survive. I think Trap Burning Abyss is better. We haven't seen it yet. Don't get me wrong. If you guys played Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in 2015, you've seen it. But I think we can see a resurgence of Trap Eldritch as a good counter to current Shadows, especially post-Banlist Shadows. So keep an eye out for Burning Abyss as well. They're not done yet. Or even against Eldritch, or even against Shadows. These are probably going to be the dominant mid-range decks of the meta. There's gonna be. And I think we still have room for other decks, but these 3 decks, they'll still be seen play post-Banlist. Then we have Zeus. Now, even though I've been talking about a bunch of deck cores, Zeus is a card that, well, Konami's not gonna ban. Recently coming out of Phantom Rage, Zeus right now is roughly around $65 in the market. That is, of course, unless you want the Starlight version, which is only about $420. And listen, unlike a lot of the cards, this card is definitely gonna see play. A lot of play. In fact, blowing up a mid-range deck is really good. Doing it is really hard, especially the whole format's mid-range. Have fun with that. Nevertheless, this card is meant to do that, though. It's meant to clear the board. It's meant to give you an advantage. It's meant to take resources away from your opponent that desperately wants to maintain, if not gain more. This is a phenomenal card. If you do not have Zeus, I really do think you should get some. I own 2, and to be honest with you, 1's secret rare, and it feels kind of... Anyway, up next, Ice Dragon's Prison. I love this card. I really do like this card a lot, and I think, once again, if we're looking in the same mindset and mentality of all these mid-range decks, Burning Abyss, Eldritch, Shadows, Ice Dragon Prison is a perfect answer to them. All you gotta do is just take one of their monsters. Hey, you play 2 Golden Lords? Cool, let me get one for a second, and you know what? I'm gonna banish mine. Then banish yours. Oh, you only play 2 Golden Lords? Oh, that sucks to be you. Oh, wait a minute. You have a window on board? Alright, cool. I'm gonna use my special summon to special one of your monsters, and, let's get rid of these. Like, the card's amazing. Right now, the card, and by the way, the card desperately needs a reprint. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but the card is gonna see play in a slower format. It can't see play in combo format, even though the fact that we are in technically, I would say mid-range / combo, the card value, by the way, is deceptive. It's a $38 to almost near $39 market price. Realistically, the price of the card is roughly almost near $45 a copy, and with good reason to. In a slower mid-range format, this card thrives as king. If you don't own your copies, well, might want to consider getting them because they're not going lower anytime soon. Then we have Inspector Border. One of my favorite cards that I hated because I'm a big Ultra Guys player. By the way, hashtag Geist Gang for life. But if you play it against any slower decks, because slower controlling decks are always trying to outpace and maintain more advantage than mid-range, you're going to need something like Inspector Border. It's really good right now against Drytrons. I mean, slap that against Drytrons, they're going to see you in the next game, because that game's basically over, but it's good against a lot of decks in mid-range. And I think Inspector Border against a lot of these crazy control decks is the card you're going to want to have. It tells any kind of Guru variant, any kind of Ultra Guys variant, hey, calm down and lose the game. It's a phenomenal card. If you don't have it right now, the Secret Red Extreme Force, looking at it, there's not many listings. The market price will be roughly around $3. Unlimited are roughly around $3 to $4 with shipping. And the first version starting at $7. That's for original print. The card does have an ultra printing. If you do want to get the cheapest version, it's 20 cents. And if you want the Mega Pack version, it's almost the same thing, roughly around $3. So something you definitely might want to consider picking up. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit basically have seen almost no play this entire meta. I think the beginning of the meta is sort of some play, and then people opted out and started playing cards like Ghost Spell and other cards like that. But Ghost Ogre is an excellent card that nobody's looking at right now, and nobody's playing. Now you go V, I don't know, Ultimate Ghost Ogre at the OTS Song Pack 5 is roughly around, well, the market price is $117. I could get a good deal and get it for $105. By the way, it goes to 113 almost quickly afterwards. But do I get that? Well, if you can, sure. I think it's a phenomenal card. And the card's going to continue rising because, well, Konami's not making any more OTS Pack 5, are they? Konami's not finding a way to throw Ghost Ogre out in the market, is it? No. 22 listings, that's going to always be diminishing. But you can still get other versions of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit at cheaper values. It's a great hand trap, and if you're not holding it right now, you might want to consider getting a playset minimal because this card's going to be used in your deck moving forward in the future. Dynamaster Prank Shops also saw almost no play this meta. And why would you need to have it see play? You could barely really, abuse that card. But in a mid-range format, it doubles up. Taking a monster away from your opponent and popping a card with one card cut you ahead on the resource game that you're going to be involved in. It's not like Control where it's a full game of attrition, but attrition is used in the mid-range. It matters. If you don't have that many cards, maybe you can try to start recurring, but if I have a dominant board presence and breaking tops will get you there, you're going to want to grab this card. Once again, relatively inexpensive. I highly recommend you pick it up. Zodiac is a deck that's being played in the OCG right now. And you can say, V, our bands and their bands is different. I get that. Zodiac is still broken. You can play minimum 2 Zeus and Zodiac, a pure Zodiac variant, and do not bad. The reason why Zodiac pure is not really used over here in TCG, because we more than likely don't have a way to slow down or stop these combo-heavy decks. But we will see Zodiac in mid-range, no doubt in my mind. Unless Konami does hits to these decks, they're going to see play. Zodiac's a great archetype, and Zodiac Elik, to me personally, is the deck I'm using right now, and I do think it's a really good deck in this format as it is right now, and in a mid-range format, even better, because you can easily go into Zeus, you can easily sub your Elik plays. They almost kind of complement each other. And looking at Zodiac right now, they are really good, and I think a lot of people are not looking at them right now, and I think that's crazy. If you don't own your Zodiac playsets, if you don't have your deck core, you're out of your mind. A little fun fact, and we talked about this on my stream on Twitch, is the fact that Zodiac Brobo might one day come back. I don't know when it will come back, but I do know one thing. Zodiac Brobo has 2 versions, the Megatins and the Raging Tempest Original Prince. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to show you the Raging Tempest because that's the one I think you should be getting. Raging Tempest version of Zodiac Brobo with a market price of roughly around $4 is roughly around $4. It's staying true to the market price due to the fact that the card is currently banned. But, listen, this card coming off the Banlist is not that big of a deal. If you think Brobo is coming off the Banlist being a big deal, I would have to disagree. And the reason why is because this should have came off rather than, well, Dryden. But we have Dryden, so thanks Konami. But I do see Zodiac Brobo coming off in the future. It's inevitable when it happens. And I do think it's going to help Dryden even more. In the mid-range format, people might even play pure Zodiacs. I don't blame them they do that. It's really good. I still like Zodiac Elik, but I wouldn't blame anybody playing pure Zodiac because it can seriously do a lot of crazy and broke things. Pot of Avarice is a phenomenal card in mid-range format. Once again, we're playing a quasi game of attrition, and Pot of Avarice allows you to recycle resources. Most mid-range decks are really good at recycling their resources. I mean, really good at doing it. Not as good as Control, in my honest opinion, but for the most part, really good at doing it nevertheless. Looking at a card like Pot of Avarice, it gives you the advantage and edge against a lot of other decks in the game right now. Now, I'm going to personally look at Ultimate Red Pot of Avarice. I personally own 2 of these cards. The current market price is $165, and if you want it right now, it's actually at a discount price of $110. And I use the word discount very strategically in that sentence, and the reason why is this card's never going to be $110. This is the cheapest price you're going to see this card, and then it goes to the moon, and everyone's like, oh no, now I got to pay... Excuse me. Now I got to pay, oh, it's the price almost there, $200 for an unlimited. This sucks, V. What do I do? I don't know, but if you had the opportunity to grab the Ultimate Rare right now, now's the time. This card is phenomenal, it's really good, and not a lot of players are looking at it because they're busy focused on prosperity. This is infinitely better. This is the card you're going to want to get. So, looking at Dangers, I think Dangers are terrible in combo format. I just don't like them. In a mid-range format, they're not bad, and we know they've seen play mid-range formats. And to be honest with you, there might be a time in this game's history where these start finding their way back into the decks. It's already kind of happening, but not to the level in which a lot of your players are all going, oh yeah, that Dangers? Yeah, they're in decks. But I do think there'll be a time in this game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That Dangers are going to see their way into the decks. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable. And if you don't own a Danger core, you're really depriving yourself of having this great quality. Because these cards are really good. And by mean great quality, I mean buying them where no one's looking at them and holding them till everybody starts seeing them. That's what I mean by Dangers. Nobody understands that, but it's really true. So, I say Summon Limit, but I also mean Floodgates. I know we talked about Summon Limit the other day, but I just really want to say that Floodgates in mid-range formats are essential. They might not last a long time. They might not. Mid-range formats allow players to play a lot of cards in their decks, unlike combos, to deal with getting attacked. They play more back row. They can do that. And looking at a card like Summon Limit, well, any other deck that tries to, like, skew away from the herd, which does happen a lot during mid-range format, we're going to see Summon Limit actually just grab them back in and go, no, 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 no. Summon Limit says, you should have played mid-range today, buddy boy. Pure combo, here, flip, and then just easily beat them. And you might take a couple of turns doing it, but you know one thing they're not going to be able to do? Combo off. This is a phenomenal card, and yet, no, it's really expensive, and unfortunately, we don't have a reprint yet. Hopefully, we get one in Ghost in the Past. Of course, I was going to talk about this. Why would I not talk about Atlantis Murmur's Water Dot deck being good? If we were having a regionals, if we were back into physical Yu-Gi-Oh! Today, the day after the bans, if there was a regionals, and you didn't know what to play, play this deck. People historically have gotten their invites in formats in which we eventually and quickly found good broken tier 1 decks, but right after a new ban list comes out, nobody knows what their best build is. But you know what's the best build? Atlantean Mermails. This deck comes out of nowhere and goes, oh, you're still figuring out how to play your deck? That's cool. Boom. I always like to call it a shotgun deck, because that's basically what this deck is. It kind of evaluates the board state and just creates a board of their own, ready to take 8,000 life points away from you as fast and as efficiently as possible. And this deck is a well-oiled machine. It is insanely efficient. Unfortunately, if you want to get Atlantean Dragoons, even the OTS 1 Pack 14 commons are starting to hit $5 a copy. Of course it is. Why would it not be? Atlantean Dragoons. Konami, I know we just asked for a reprint and we got it as a common. Thanks for that. Can we have an ultra rare printing of this card? Hopefully that will lower the value. Hopefully. I don't believe in it, but I would love to see it happen. But looking at Atlantean Dragoons is a deck I think every Yu-Gi-Oh player that's been playing for a while, that wants to play competitively, needs to have. I think every Yu-Gi-Oh player should own this deck. I really, truly believe that. I say the same thing about Pendulums. I know I do, because Pendulums are always going to be a good deck. But Atlantean Mermails, they're not a deck that you could really, well, for the most part, never get really support. They almost never get support. In fact, the last support they got was that one set, and after that, they haven't had support for themselves in a very long time. For the most part, this deck just does one thing. Like I said, it's shotguns. And every time there's a ban list out, every time people are figuring out what to play, you go walk into logos, regionals, YCS, and just shut people down as they're trying to figure out, oh, wait a minute, I left myself open for one turn. Hopefully everything will go well. This deck says it's not going to happen. I love this deck, and I really do think people should get involved in this deck as fast as possible. Twin Twisters is a great card, and we can say, hey, you can say, hey, V, what about cards like Cyclone? What about Lightning Storms evenly matched? Absolutely. I think you should get them all. Now, obviously, Lightning Storm is relatively high in price. Hopefully, we'll see a reprint from the past. Probably not. But Twin Twisters is a phenomenal card that you should own a playset of. MST is a card I think people still should own a playset of. And Cosmic Cyclone is a card I think people should own a playset of. Which one should you get the max value? Which one should you put the most money in? If I had to pick one card to get max rarity, well, it would probably be Twin Twisters. This card is still universally really good. And in formats in which back row isn't as important, this card can thrive. But Cosmic Cyclone might be better post-ban, well, due to the fact because of Elic. Once again, you're going to want to banish the Elic cards. By playing Twisters on the Elic player, you're just saying, hey, those cards, end phase resolve effects to just replace them. But not now. And they'll go, okay. Or they'll chain to it. It really does nothing. So Cosmic Cyclone is a better card, unfortunately. Even though I think Twin Twisters is overall a better card. Up next, guys, we have Anti-Spell Fragrance. Pendulums. Like, listen, I know right now saying Pendulums, be careful. You'll go, V, come on, knock it off. I'm not joking. Pendulums. You better have your playset. These prices are going to increase. They're not going to stay this low for long. This will be a lot of money. Why are we even looking at each other and you're not buying this card? You better have a playset. I don't care if you have a max rarity playset. I don't care if you have a dual tone playset, which I think is the best version. It's roughly around $4. 122 listings. I don't care if you have a common, 21 cents. Get your playset and put it to the side and wait for what time comes. Now, if you do want to invest in the market, once again, I personally own the dual terminals, and they're roughly around $4 with only 22 price listings, so I highly recommend you pick this up while nobody's looking at it, nobody's caring about it, because this card can easily get bought out, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was to get bought out. But also, if you want the highest value, highest version, I would guess it would be Power Chaos Yu-Gi-Oh! Destiny. Well, with a $15 market price, the value of the card is currently roughly around $14 and $15. This is currently the highest value, but between this and dual terminal, I would recommend dual terminal because it can get to the exact value that we're seeing Anti-Spell at. But once again, if you want a cheaper version, hey, listen, Battle Legends Electric Adventure is currently 22 cents. Buy your playset. R09 it, but make sure you have it. Then we have Kaijus. So you might go, Kaijus are really good in combo, right, V? Sure. But they're really good in mid-range too. Kaijus have seen play in mid-range and combo formats. But I think, if you want, on my honest opinion, I think they've seen a lot of play in mid-range. Enough to warrant me talking about it to you and saying, do you have your Kaijus? Do you have your Dino Monster Fighters? If you don't, you're going to want to consider picking a playset up. I don't know which version, I don't know which value, I don't know your budget, but I'm going to tell you right now, I think Super Rare Game & Seals look better than Secret Rare Game & Seals. I own a playset of each, and Super Rare Game & Seals just look cleaner. I'm throwing it out there. Secret Rare's not bad. Always a big fan of Super Rares. Up next, guys, we have Chaos Space. Chaos Space is really good in combo format. We saw it see play in Dragon Link, but why am I talking about it right now? because mid-range decks can still use and abuse chaos space, and it's also dirt cheap and nobody's looking at it right now. The collector's rare. The common version, I don't know how much it costs. I'm talking about the collector's rare because it's so undervalued. Look at chaos space right now. Added to chaos with a $71 market price. If you want to get a first edition version of this card, you're gonna pay roughly around $100. That is dirt cheap. Now, if you want a limited version of chaos space, no big deal, $55. Way under the $71 market price. The market price can adjust to the dirt cheap price point at which this card is currently at. This card is huge. I think this card can definitely see play. And maybe with Colossus coming to 1, maybe this card would see play Thunder Dragon. It's definitely going to see play in Thunder Dragon, to be honest with you, as a 3-up. But maybe there's going to be another deck moving forward in the future that, well, let's say uses light or dark monsters that cannot be normal summoned to set. I think if I had to just magically think about it and invest it in a card, I would invest in Chaos Space. Now, you might say, V, that's too rich for my blood. I want a super rare. And you know what? Chaos Space, only came in Toon Chaos. I don't know if it's getting a reprint soon, which definitely changed the price point. Why is this here? Anyway, looking at the super version of the card, is roughly around $4. It's still super and highly undervalued. I highly recommend you pick this version up as well, in case you don't have it. And in case you don't want to put a lot of money into the market. Chaos Space is a phenomenal card that people just don't respect. But this card is so good. It makes Dragon Links better, and that's why at one point in this game, it was the dominant deck of the format. But there's gonna be a time where we're gonna have this card see play again. In fact, to be honest with you, maybe you should wait. After the Banlist Konami doesn't hit Chaos Space, maybe we'll talk about going in and buying this card, because to be honest with you, it's a lot of money for the collector's rares, but you're buying a best version of a card in which says light and dark. For anyone that's been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for a short while, Yu-Gi-Oh's historically, the dominant decks have, for the most part, been light and dark decks. It's only a matter of time before we see it again, and this card sees playing those decks. It's gonna hit in the Banlist, by the way. Like, it's inevitable. Hopefully not this one. Then we have Prosperity. No, I'm not talking about you buying this card. I'm not saying anyone to buy this card. In fact, to be honest with you, if you want just you and me, nobody's around, right? Don't buy this card. This card's way too overpriced and just underperforms heavily. And you might go, V, that's kind of crazy. It's seen play in a couple of decks here, seen play some decks here. All the top decks at the US Extravaganza use Prosperity. Sure they did. The problem with that is, Prosperity is overpriced. It's overpriced. It doesn't merit its current high value. In the future format. In the current format, it's not bad used in certain decks, but not really consistently, and players are debating whether they even play the card, to be honest with you. In the future format, in the mid-range format, you need your extra deck in mid-range format. You can maybe play Pot of Extravagance if you really want to, because you're going to get that +1, but +1 is better than digging for a card to use as against another card. Because once again, the format we're in is vast, and if you don't open that answer, you better find a way to draw to that answer, or you're gonna get smoked. Right, Virtual World players? Tell them. Right, Dragon players? Get on them. But that's not what's gonna happen in a mid-range format. And I do think we're going to mid-range format. The format before this current one was super combo heavy. I don't think nobody would disagree with that. The format we're in right now is a hybrid between combo and mid-range. The format we're going into is gonna be mid-range. It's pretty obvious the direction Konami's trying to push us into. Looking at Prosperity, it's really good during a format like now when you're trying to get the card you need to stop your opponent. Whether it be a Floodgate, whether it be just a really good hand trap, like Cyclone against Rytrons, you're going to want to play this card because losing 6 cards from your extra deck, you'll take all of it every day if it could buy you 1 turn to light your opponent up. It makes sense. For now. But buying this card right now makes 0 sense to me, and 0 sense to anybody, to be honest with you, in the mid-range format, in which you don't need to rush to that combo piece, because your hand will be good, more than enough, because your opponent more than likely won't be able to kill you as fast, and more than likely you'll have traps, which will help stall you out until you can get to the cards you need. I'm not saying this is a terrible card. I'm not. Pleased, I'm not. But this card's not worth it right now. It's gonna go a lot cheaper, and to be honest with you, even though the secret version of the card is for around $86, the Starlight Rare, which was at $500, is currently, well, roughly around $120 cheaper. $120 cheaper. That's a big deal. And I think the price point of this card is going to go lower. Don't buy it right now. Wait. And if you wait, I promise you'll be able to get your playset of Prosperities for a much cheaper price point. Buying it right now is a terrible mistake, and I don't recommend it. And if you have it right now, maybe you might want to consider selling it and buying it lower later. It's up to you, but I'll tell you right now, if I pulled one of these, it goes on the market. I'm not touching this card with a 10-foot pole. It's not worth it value-wise. Super Polymerization is worth it, though. This card's phenomenal, and in a mid-range format, This card is king! This card was banned during the best mid-range format in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Trinity format, because this card was so good. Once again, it's about taking your opponent's resources, and not only taking your opponent's resources, but building on your own. This one card does that. If you're a Shadow player, you're going to want to listen up. This card is amazing. Whatever your opponent plays on board, you just go, okay, give me resources. And it does. It works. Like magic. Look at Super Optimization at OTS on Pack 14. The current market price of right away for this ultimate rare is $61. The realistic value, $66. And slowly creeping up to $70. This card will hit way over $120. Mark my words. I'm not even playing with you. And listen, you can do whatever you want to do with that information. You can get Super Rare, Super Poly, Secret Rare, Commons, just to lock in and get your cards. I have multiple places of Super Optimization. I don't own any Ultimate Rares yet, but I'm personally looking to go in and get involved in this in the future. And I think in mid-range format, this card is going to reign king. And more than likely, it will probably get banned again because it is insanely broken. Paisanos, like I said in the beginning of this video, a lot of people are still looking at the market. They don't know what to do. They're debating on what to buy. They don't want to buy something and it just get blown out to existence. I understand that. But whenever you are looking at the market to put money into the market, you are going to be investing. So invest intelligently. Don't invest going, I'll buy Drytrons right now. And by the way, I know people are buying Drytrons because I sold my core. I know people are buying Virtual Worlds because I sold my core. I know people are still doing that. And I'm going, here, thanks for the money. I'm not going to show all this stuff, but yeah. This is from this morning alone. Okay. From all the people, this is what I'm sending out to all the people who are buying on my Drytrons and buying on my Virtual World. Hey, hope you have fun with those cards. I'll get your stuff sent out as soon as possible because I don't want it. I'll stick with a mid-range deck because that's the deck that's going to last throughout this format. You are dangling with Dynamite. I'm hanging out with the boys and just winning. And I swear to you guys, focus on the idea of this format. Focus on what Konami has historically done, and just realize the fact that every March bans we have is pretty insane. And this one's no different. In fact, not only is this one no different, cards will be getting put on the ban list. Cards, not card. We're not just going to see VFD and Konami's going to walk on by. They're going to hit other cards. It's inevitable, and I think it's something that you guys might want to start realizing as far as this ban list and the impact it's going to have on whatever deck you play in the near future of this card game. Anyway, Paisanos, I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. It's your boy V. You Paisanos. You Paisanos have a great day.